Hello everyone and welcome to our channel. In this video, we will be covering some important topics and questions related to those topics of the MD-102 exam. You can find the complete PDF of this video and our other practice questions through the link down in the description. We here have more than 30 plus certifications and are here to help you achieve your certification goals. We will try to answer all of your doubts related to MD 102 exam, such as the exam does not have lab type questions. It does have case study type questions, however. The exam duration is 120 minutes in which you have to answer 40 to 60 questions. The minimum passing score is 700 out of 1000. There is no negative marking in the exam. After you earn it, this certification will be valid for a year. About the exam renewal process, you will have to recertify. Tutorial video for the MD 102 exam and contains practice questions as well. These are the topics that we will be covering in this video. However, these are not all the topics that will come in the exam. As such, we will be publishing more parts to this series in the future. So, please make sure to subscribe our channel and press the bell icon. To our first topic, Intune. What is Microsoft Intune? As organizations support hybrid and remote workforces, they are challenged with managing the different devices that access organization resources. Employees and students need to collaborate, work from anywhere, and securely access and connect to these resources. Admins need to protect organization data, manage end user access, and support users from wherever they work. To help with these challenges and tasks, use Microsoft Intune. It is a cloud based endpoint management solution. It manages user access to organizational resources and simplifies app and device management across your many devices, including mobile devices, desktop computers, and virtual endpoint. Steps to set up Intune. First, set up Intune, then add, configure, and protect apps. Then use compliance and conditional access. After that, configure device features and settings. And in the end, enroll your devices. To the questions related to this topic. Question 1. You have devices enrolled in Microsoft Intune as shown in the following table. On which devices can you apply app configuration policies? Here in this question, we are given the following table showing us devices that are enrolled in Microsoft Intune. We have to choose devices on which we can apply app configuration policies. From all these, we can apply app configuration policies on device 3 and device 4 only. Thus, the correct option is C. The answer is C. You can create and use app configuration policies to provide configuration settings for both iOS/iPad OS or Android apps. Question 2. You have a Microsoft 365 subscription that uses Microsoft Intune Suite. You use Microsoft Intune to manage devices. You plan to deploy two apps named App 1 and App 2 to all Windows devices. App 1 must be installed before App 2. From the Intune Admin Center, you create and deploy two Windows app apps. You need to ensure that App 1 is installed before App 2 on every device. What should you configure? Here in this question, we have a Microsoft 365 subscription. that is using Microsoft Intune suite. We are planning to deploy two apps to all Windows devices. We have to ensure that app 1 is installed before app 2 on every device. For that, we should configure the app to deployment configurations. Thus, the correct option is D. Detection rule won't work here. Detection rules are to confirm the app is or is not installed on the machine. If you configured it to detect the prior install, then it will mark app 2 as installed and take no further action. You need a dependency on app 2 that will detect app 1, then install app 1. Question 3. You have a Microsoft Intune subscription. You have devices enrolled in Intune as shown in the following table. An app named App 1 is installed on each device. What is the minimum number of app configuration policies required to manage App 1? In this question, we are given a table showing the devices that are enrolled in Intune. We have installed an app named App 1 on each device. As such, according to the list, the minimum number of app configuration policies required to manage App 1 are 2. Thus, the correct option is B. You need app protection for both platforms separately. Question 4. You have a Microsoft 365 subscription. You have 10 computers that run Windows 10 and are enrolled in mobile device management. You need to deploy the Microsoft 365 apps for Enterprises suite to all computers. What should you do? Here in this question, we have a Microsoft 365 subscription. We have 10 computers running on Windows 10 and enrolled in mobile device management. We have to deploy the Microsoft 365 apps for Enterprise Suite to all of these computers. As such, for that, the most appropriate option is from the Microsoft Intune Admin Center, add an app. Thus, the correct option is D. Question 5. You have a Microsoft 365 subscription that uses Microsoft Intune Suite. You use Microsoft Intune to manage devices. You have a Windows 11 device named Device 1 that is enrolled in Intune. Device 1 has been offline for 30 days. You need to remove Device 1 from Intune immediately. The solution must ensure that if the data device checks in again, any apps and data provisioned by Intune are removed. User installed apps, personal data, and OEM installed apps must be retained. What should you do? Here in this question, we have a Microsoft 365 subscription that is using Microsoft Intune Suite. In this, we have a Windows 11 device named Device 1 that is enrolled in Intune. We have to remove Device 1 from Intune immediately while ensuring two main requirements. That is, if the device checks in again, any apps and data provisioned by Intune are removed, and that user installed apps, personal data, and OEM installed apps must be retained. As such, the most appropriate option here is a delete action. As such, the correct option is A. This action will immediately remove the device from Intune and any company data will be removed the next time the device checks in. The clue in the question is you need to remove device 1 from Intune immediately. So basically, the only option that is left is delete, as this instantly removes the device from Intune and only removes company data. Question 6. You have Microsoft 365 subscription that uses Microsoft Intune suite. You use Microsoft Intune to manage devices. You need to review the startup times and restart frequencies of the devices. What should you do? Here in this question, we have a Microsoft 365 subscription using Microsoft Intune Suite, from which Intune is being used to manage devices. We need to review the startup times and restart frequencies of these devices. As such, we should use endpoint analytics. Thus, the correct option is D. Question 7. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription that contains 500 Mac OS devices enrolled in Microsoft Intune. You need to ensure that you can apply Microsoft Defender for Endpoint antivirus policies to the Mac OS devices. The solution must minimize administrative effort. What should you do? Here in this question, we have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription and 500 macOS devices that are enrolled in Microsoft Intune. We have to ensure that we can apply Microsoft Defender for Endpoint antivirus policies to all of these devices while minimizing administrative effort. As such, the most appropriate option is from the Microsoft Intune Admin Center, create a configuration profile. Thus, the correct option is D. The question asks to make sure you can apply policies to Defender. In theory, that will require C and D. If Defender is not installed, it cannot apply policies. If only one option is allowed, then D. C on its own won't allow policy, just install the apps. D can apply policies. They shall have no effect if the app is not present, but they will apply. Wording of the question implies that Defender may already be installed. It is a poorly phrased question, but D seems the best answer. On Mac OS 11 and above, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint requires additional configuration profiles. If you are an existing customer upgrading from earlier versions of macOS, make sure to deploy the additional configuration profiles listed on New Configuration Profiles for macOS Big Sur and newer versions of macOS. Question 8. Your company uses Microsoft Intune to manage devices. You need to ensure that only Android devices that use Android work profiles can enroll in Intune. Which two configurations should you perform in the device enrollment restrictions? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Here in this question, we have to ensure that only Android devices using Android work profiles can be enrolled in Intune. As such, the two configurations that we should perform are from platform settings, set Android Enterprise to allow, and from platform settings, set Android Device Administrator to block. As such, the correct options are B and D. To our next topic, Microsoft Defender XDR. What is Microsoft Defender XDR? It is a unified pre and post breach enterprise defense suite that natively coordinates detection, prevention, investigation, and response across endpoints, identities, email, and applications to provide integrated protection against sophisticated attacks. Microsoft Defender XDR helps security teams protect and detect their organizations by using information from other Microsoft security products, including Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, Microsoft Defender for Office 365, Microsoft Defender for Identity, Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, Microsoft Entra ID Protection, Microsoft Data Loss Prevention, and App Governance. The pilot and deploy process. Microsoft recommends enabling the components of Microsoft 365 Defender in the following order. First, we have to start the pilot. Then we have to pilot and deploy these components. First is Defender for Identity, then Defender for Office 365, then Defender for Endpoint, and then Defender for Cloud Apps, and then investigate and respond to threats. To the questions related to this topic, question 9. You have an Azure AD tenant and 100 Windows 10 devices that are Azure AD joined and managed by using Microsoft Intune. You need to configure Microsoft Defender Firewall and Microsoft Defender Antivirus on the devices. The solution must minimize administrative effort. Which two actions should you perform? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Here in this question, we have an Azure AD tenant and 100 Windows 10 devices that are Azure AD joined and managed by Intune. We have to configure a Defender Firewall and a Defender Antivirus on all these devices while minimizing administrative effort. As such, the two actions that we should perform are to configure Microsoft Defender Antivirus, create a device configuration profile, and configure the device restriction settings. And to configure Microsoft Defender Firewall, create a device configuration profile, and configure the endpoint protection settings. As such, the correct options are D and E. About D, Microsoft Defender Antivirus is under device restriction settings, and about E, Defender Firewall is under endpoint protection settings. Both are under devices, then configuration profiles, then select templates from the drop down. Question 10, drag drop. You have a Microsoft 365 subscription that includes Microsoft Intune. You need to implement a Microsoft Defender for Endpoint solution that meets the following requirements. Enforces compliance for Defender for Endpoint by using conditional access, prevents suspicious scripts from running on devices. What should you configure? To answer, drag the appropriate features to the correct requirements. Each feature may be used once, more than once, or not at all. You may need to drag the split bar between panes or scroll to view content. The features given to us are a device restriction policy, a security baseline, an attack surface reduction rule, and an Intune connection. To the answer area, enforces compliance. Here, the correct option is an Intune connection. To the next statement, prevents suspicious scripts. Here, the correct option is an attack surface reduction rule. Question 11. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription. The subscription contains 25 computers that run Windows 11 and are enrolled in Microsoft Intune. You need to onboard the devices to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. What should you create in the Microsoft Intune Admin Center? Here in this question, we have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription with 25 computers running on Windows 11 and enrolled in Intune. We have to onboard these devices to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. As such, we should create an endpoint detection and response policy in Microsoft Intune Admin Center. Thus, the correct option is C. To the next topic, Log Analytics Workspace. What is Log Analytics Workspace? It is a data store into which you can collect any type of log data from all of your Azure and non-Azure resources and applications. Workspace configuration options lets you manage all of your log data in one workspace to meet the operations, analysis, and auditing needs of different personas in your organization through Azure Monitor features such as built-in insights experiences, alerts, and automatic actions. Other Azure features such as Microsoft Sentinel, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and Logic Apps. Microsoft tools such as Power BI and Excel, integration with custom and third-party applications. About log tables, each log analytics workspace contains multiple tables in which Azure Monitor logs stores data you collect. To the questions related to this topic, question 12. You have computers that run Windows 10 and connect to an Azure Log Analytics workspace. The workspace is configured to collect all available events from the Windows event logs. The computers have the logged event shown in the following table. Which events are collected in the Log Analytics workspace? Here in this question, we have computers running Windows 10 connected to Azure Log Analytics workspace that is configured to collect all available events from the Windows event logs. We are given the following table showing the logged events. The events that are collected in the Log Analytics workspace are 1, 2, and 4 only. As such, the correct option is D. Need to be careful of wording as well. Success is not an event log type. Critical, warning, error, information, and verbose are the event log types. There is audit success and audit failure in security event logs. But in this scenario, there is no 2 and 4 option. So D. Question 13. You have 100 computers that run Windows 10 and connect to an Azure Log Analytics workspace. Which three types of data can you collect from the computers by using Log Analytics workspace? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Here in this question, we have an Azure Log Analytics workspace with which 100 computers running on Windows 10 are connected. The three types of data that we can collect from the computers by using Log Analytics are the list of processes and their execution times, the average processor utilization, and error events from the system log. Thus, the correct options are B, C, and D. To the miscellaneous questions. Question 14. Your network contains an Active Directory domain. The domain contains a user named admin1. All computers run Windows 10. You enable Windows PowerShell remoting on the computers. You need to ensure that admin1 can establish remote PowerShell connections to the computers. The solution must use the principle of least privilege. The solution must use the principle of least privilege. To which group should you add admin1? Here in this question, we have an Azure directory domain that contains a user named admin1 and computers that are running Windows 10. We need to ensure that admin1 can establish remote PowerShell connections to these computers while using the principle of least privilege. As such, we should add admin1 to the remote management users group. Thus, the correct option is D. Remote Management Users Group provides the effective rights for PS remote/remote connection. Remote desktop users would require having local administrator permission, not least privilege, having two roles where one defined role will do. To create remote sessions and run remote commands, by default, the current user must be a member of the administrators group on the remote computer or provide the credentials of an administrator. Otherwise, the command fails. Question 15. You have a Microsoft 365 subscription that uses Microsoft Intune suite. You use Microsoft Intune to manage devices. You use Windows Autopilot to deploy Windows 11 to devices. Support engineer reports that when a deployment fails, they cannot collect deployment logs from failed devices. We need to ensure that when a deployment fails, the deployment logs can be collected. What should you configure? Here in this question, we have a Microsoft 365 subscription using Microsoft Intune Suite. We also have Windows Autopilot to deploy Windows 11 to devices. We have to ensure that when a deployment fails, the deployment logs can be collected. As such, for that, we should configure the enrollment status page profile. Thus, the correct option is C. Question 16. You have a Windows 11 capable device named Device 1 that runs the 64-bit version of Windows 10 Enterprise and has Microsoft Office 2019 installed. You have the Windows 11 Enterprise images shown in the following table. Which images can be used to perform an in-place upgrade of Device 1? Here in this question, we have a Windows 11 capable device named Device 1 running on Windows 10 Enterprise 64-bit version and also having Office 2019. We have the given Windows 11 Enterprise images. We have to perform an in-place upgrade of Device 1. As such, the image that can be used is image 2 only. As such, the correct option is B. Existing applications are preserved through the process. So, the upgrade process uses the standard Windows installation media image. Custom images aren't needed and cannot be used because the upgrade process is unable to deal with conflicts between apps in the old and new operating system. Question 17. You have a Microsoft Deployment Toolkit deployment share named DS1. In the out of box drivers node, you create folders that contain drivers for different hardware models. You need to configure the inject drivers MDT task to use PNP detection to install the drivers for one of the hardware models. What should you do first? Here in this question, we have a Microsoft Deployment Toolkit deployment share named DS1. We have to configure the inject drivers MDT task in it to use PNP detection to install the drivers for one of the hardware models. For that, we should first create a selection profile. As such, the correct option is B. Question 18. You have an on premises server named Server 1 that hosts a Microsoft Deployment Toolkit deployment share named MDT1. You need to ensure that MDT1 supports multicast deployments. What should you install on Server 1? Here in this question, we have a server named Server 1 that is an on premises server hosting a Microsoft Deployment Toolkit deployment share named MDT1. We have to ensure that MDT1 supports multicast deployments. As such, for that, we should install Windows Deployment Services on Server 1. As such, the correct option is C. C, as Windows Deployment Services is able to serve exe requests. Couldn't find an exact article, but PowerShell cmdlet for WDS includes get WDS multicast client and other commands showing it is a feature of WDS. Question 19. Your company standardizes on Windows 10 Enterprise for all users. Some users purchase their own computer from a retail store. The computers run Windows 10 Pro. You need to recommend a solution to upgrade the computers to Windows 10 Enterprise, join the computers to Azure AD, and install several Microsoft Store apps. The solution must meet the following requirements: ensure that any applications installed by the users are retained, minimize user intervention. What is the best recommendation to achieve the goal? More than one answer choice may achieve the goal. Select the best answer. Here in this question, the company standard is Windows 10 Enterprise for all users. Some users have their own computers running on a Windows 10 Pro. We have to recommend a solution to upgrade the computers to Windows 10 Enterprise, join them to Azure AD, and install several Microsoft apps. We have to also make sure that any application installed by the users are retained and also minimize user intervention. For these requirements, the best recommendation is a Windows Configuration Designer provisioning package. As such, the correct option is C. Autopilot would require resetting the device. Provisioning package can be loaded during normal use of the OS, doesn't require resetting/wiping, etc. Question 20. You have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription that contains 10 Android enterprise devices. Each device has a corporate owned work profile and is enrolled in Microsoft Intune. You need to configure the devices to run a single app in the kiosk mode. Which configuration settings should you modify in the device restrictions profile? Here in this question, we have a Microsoft 365 E5 subscription containing 10 Android enterprise devices that have a corporate owned work profile and are enrolled in Microsoft Intune. We have to configure the devices to run a single app in kiosk mode. For that, we should modify the device experience configuration setting in the device restrictions profile. As such, the correct option is D. These were all the questions for this video. You can find the complete PDF of this video and our practice questions through the link down in the description. Please make sure to subscribe our channel and press the bell icon. Thank you for watching and stay tuned.